Welcome to the Real Estate Power Play Podcast, your launch pad for skyrocketing success in real estate investing. I'm your host, Gabe Rodarty, alongside Mark Monroe. We're ready to bring you transformative stories, groundbreaking strategies, and the insider secrets of real estate giants. Get ready to accelerate your investment journey and become a true power player in the world of real estate.
Okay, welcome to another episode of Real Estate Power Play. I am your host this week, Mark Monroe. If you like what you hear, please like, share, and if there's a topic that you would like us to cover, just reach out to us. But I am super excited. We have Dan on. I've met Dan at several of the note conferences. And before we came on, we're just sitting there talking about, different events that we go speak at, where we're speaking and where we're not speaking. And Dan, welcome. And why don't you kind of introduce yourself to everybody, a little bit about yourself. Thanks so much for coming on. I really, truly appreciate it.
Oh, thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me on. And it's always great seeing you at an event. We run in the same circles now for, man, it's been a lot of years. And every time we speak at an event together, which we don't speak at events too often, but when we do, we always have a great time. And it's not even what we do on stage. It's the VIP stuff, the afterwards, the being in the room, the relationship building that we do. We had a great time in Nashville last year, just really having, just like breaking bread and really getting to know each other at a different level. And that's what I love about this business. But once again, I'm Dan Zitofsky. I've been in the real estate investing space for 35 years now. I think I've done almost every form of real estate you could do. I'm a speaker, I'm a coach, I'm a best-selling author, I'm passive to prosperous. But my claim to fame really, and where I always say you have to have like niche. Everything in this business is niche within the niches, and I think that's why you and I align so well, Mark. There's so many people that do notes. There's so many people that do seller financing. There's so many people that do rentals. There's so many people that do flips. But what we do is, I'm about 6 niches deep, right? So I'm an expert, and I mentored people many years on how to raise private money, and I've raised over 30 million in new money and $400 million in velocity. And then for many years, about 17, 18 years now, I've been in a note space. Started in the non-performing seconds, real quickly, about a year and a half later, got into the first because I wanted to own the properties. I didn't really care about the note as much as the properties. And I create, where I'm different is I raise capital. I buy distressed debt or distressed assets, mostly assets now because the note space is so priced. It's not priced favorably for us. So I like taking the asset as fast as possible. So I'll buy the properties, and I buy them in emerging markets. I do a high-end rehab on those things, and I get them rented out, right? And professionally managed. And then I sell those properties for cash or seller financing. So I create my own note. And when I create my own note, I create my own gold. So I don't complain about the industry. I don't complain about the interest rate. I don't complain about the prices. I don't complain about the quality of the notes, the scratch and dent paper, the missing assignments, the missing allonges. What I do is when everyone else complains about that and you do the same thing, you create your own gold. And that's why I think you and I align so well, because what you do in your business and what you teach is just, we were talking about this pre-record just now. And the value that you give, I've gotten on your calls on Monday nights. The value you give is just, man, 35 years ago, I don't know what I would have done to have that kind of. We didn't have. I mean, I'm aging myself, brother. We didn't even have computers back then. We didn't have this stuff, and I think the people aren't valuing what is out there, or they think it's just not valuable because everybody does it. But when you can follow somebody like what you're doing, or when I'm going to say what I'm doing, and you could really like tag on to people like us, or there's a lot of good people in the industry that you could tag on to as mentors, or just following them. Like we talked before this, I was a coach for many years. I don't coach much anymore. I'm probably going to get back into a high level group coaching program. I do live events, 1 or 2 a year, but I'll do a group coaching program on a monthly basis. But it's all about the right people, the right avatar, who's going to take action, because what you and I do and what some people do in this industry is at such a high level that we change people's lives. And we said, it really kills us to coach and people not take action, right? But there's such an extreme high out there when people take some action and see some success. So what I've been doing over the last, few years, a couple things. I stay laser focused for the most part on creating passive wealth. I build rental portfolios in emerging markets, good Class B, C plus areas, blue to white collar areas. I create seller finance notes. I've become the bank. I do private lending. I also do deals where I partner with people, where I raise the capital and get a joint venture type of deal. So I get an equity position on each deal and I take them through the deal. So, and I'm also now, I mean, some crazy stuff. I'm actually building high-end condos and properties in Roatan, which is part of Honduras. So that's a crazy thing I've done over the last 3 years. And it's probably nutty enough. It's probably been my best investment of my life over my seller finance notes.
Yeah, and that's kind of how that's that's kind of why I enjoy going to some of these seller financing conferences, because you hit the nail on the head. It is more of a higher level compared to just going to other meetings and other different conferences. It's not the same level as high level. Like we can sit there and we've gone into some deep conversations, and a lot of people, their heads are just spinning, and
Right.
that's kind of. But you can make there's another whole area in the industry where you can make so much more money. Yes, you're doing it on the front end, your typical fix and flip or rehab, if you will. But the key to it is the notes. The notes is just you're generating, you're generating that passive income, the arbitrage. You're creating money, and that's the Warren Buffett style. You're creating money through paper. That's really
Exactly.
the bottom. Um, so let's talk a little bit about like where you're finding the deals and like well, how did you get into this part of it? Like I know you started out doing the notes, but how did you kind of segue into doing this particular niche?
Well, it's a great story. I mean, and I lay it out too in my story when I speak on stages at like keynote speaking events. I talk about my why, my vision, and I talk about it in the first chapter of my book, Pass Out the Prosperous. It's well, why did I get involved in what I'm doing now? And it kind of you don't plan for this stuff, Mark, and I'm sure you didn't plan for what you're doing either. It's the road you got to take the curvy road like this, right? So years ago, I used to raise a lot of money, and how I raised it, and I always use the dentist avatar because 60+% of my investors are dentists. Just because of referral base, one started giving me to others, and it just blew up for me with dentists. And they became my private lenders. And I was fixing flipping 30, 40 properties minimum every single year, making no less than 50 to $80,000 net per property, sometimes six figures. So you figure I'm multiple seven-figure income a year for many years fixing flipping. And to the point where I almost lost everything, my wife, my kids, because I was never around. I was working 100+ hours a week, stressed out, miserable to do things like, I bought the most ridiculous cars you could imagine. I have a watch collection, right? That could choke a horse. Boats, right? Just the things that didn't matter, right? And I don't say it to impress anybody, it's to impress upon you. I was doing this to show off, to build my ego, to impress people that didn't really like me. And really, when I got in this business, it was to do what I want to do, when I want to do it, with whom I want to do it. So I needed that passive income. And I was anything but passive. I was truly, your fix and flippers, your wholesalers, your multifamily guys, your storage guy, they're not passive. No matter what they tell you, it's not passive. So when that argument happened and I had to figure out what to do, I started getting in. I figured, okay, I need to build up a passive income so I could actually start buying my time back, right? The biggest commodity in this world is time. So I started doing rental properties. And I always say, a $600 a month net rental income is not as sexy as an $80,000 flip. But when you do rentals, you do a couple of hundred of those at a time, it gets pretty damn sexy, right? And you're getting to go while you're flying, you're traveling the world. I fly all over the place. We get to do that because of the passive income we have. But now I'm raising money. So what I'm doing is I'm actually borrowing money, buying these properties or these notes, fixing them up, getting them rented, getting them refinanced out, paying my dentist back their private money plus their interest. I never missed a payment in my career. And over time, they're like, this is great, but like we keep getting our money back and then we're out of the deal. How do we get in these deals? So next step is I said, well, I can get you some rental properties if you want those. They're like, great. So I started selling some rental properties. Well, now instead of making 80,000 a flip, I'm making 15 to 20,000 a flip. It's not as good. A lot of transactional work to make 15. I'm still flipping the properties, just lower properties. That wasn't good. So then I sat down with them and I said, well, what is your goal here? And they said, well, and I'm just giving you an overview of I'm taking a lot of this data and I'm just extrapolating to give you overview what mostly was said. They're all looking to get out of their practice in the next 10 to 15, 20 years. They don't have a retirement. They have to build their own 401k. They don't have a pension. They're worried and they don't like their practice. A lot of them didn't like their medical practice or dental practice or business. They were scared of what's the future. So they want to build a portfolio. And so I became almost their wealth. I'm not licensed, but I became like their wealth advisor. I said, okay, if I sell you a property, and I'm just going to use basic numbers, for $100,000, turnkey rental property to good emerging class B to C plus area, It's $100,000. I'm selling to you for cash. I didn't deal with banks because I'm not going to deal with the appraisal issues. When I buy a property for 50,000, put 30 into it, and they say it's only worth 50. So you can only buy for cash from me. If you want to refi later, that's on you. So if they had $100,000 and they bought a property from me for cash for $100,000, how many properties can they buy? Right, one. Now I said, how about this? If you have $100,000 and I can get you multiple properties, would that be beneficial for you? I didn't tell them what to do. I asked them, and they said, that'd be great. How are we going to do that? I said, well, I'll do this. If you give me 30% down, I'll hold financing for you on those. You don't have to worry about dealing with the banks. You don't have to worry about all the documents, the approvals, not approvals, the appraisals, all that stuff. I'll hold the mortgage for you. And every one of them exploded with excitement on that. Every single one of them. So now $100,000, and now instead of getting them one property, it gets them three properties. So I created at least $300,000 in ultimate net worth for them, because if they do nothing else and the property doesn't go up in value and the tenant pays off that property for them and they made no cash flow, which they all did. I said in the worst case scenario, and they never got a tax write-off, which they all do, they now have $300,000 in properties. And I created 3 seller finance notes for myself. So I didn't plan this out, and I only took this path because every time there was a problem, something arose, there was a roadblock. I took that roadblock and I figured out, how do I make this work and make it a win-win for them and for us, right? It has to be a win-win for both sides. And too many people in this industry, they only worry about themselves. Hence your wholesalers, right? They only worry about themselves. You have to make it a win-win. So I didn't go about this and plan, and I feel like God put this in my life for a reason. He put me, if I kept fixing flipping and I didn't have that problem, working 100 plus hours a week and almost lose everything, I probably would have kept doing that. But that problem led to me doing rentals. The rental problem led to me flipping rentals to people and doing a lot less. Then I figured out a way to create self-finance notes. And now when I created my self-finance notes, I get my private lenders all their money back. I have 5 exit strategies, all their money back in 12 to 18 months or less. And I stay in a deal for 30 years. And now those seller finance notes are debit cards for me. If I ever need money, right? You're going on vacation and you need money, I'll just sell a partial. I'll hypothecate the note. I'll borrow against it. I'll sell the note. I'll get leverage from the bank on the note. That note is the most powerful piece of paper in this world right now. You can't do with a house what you could do with a note. You can't. You can't. That's money. Within an hour, and Mark, if we put out our notes online right now, I could probably sell a few hundred in a day if I sell these notes. If people are getting passive returns, they're getting those passive returns in their IRAs, 401ks, covered Dells, health savings account, life insurance policies, cash, home equities. We can sell them instantly. A house you can't sell instantly. So, and I don't say, I have a large rental portfolio as well, single family homes, and I have a larger seller finance note portfolio, because you still want to own some properties, because properties give you ultimate wealth. You can't be paid off on those. You get the tax benefits, so on and so forth. So I always say, don't put all your eggs, and I have multiple strategies. I mean, I do multiple things. I'm developing a Roatan, like I said. I'm doing seller finance notes. I'm doing single family rentals. I'm doing private lending. I'm doing joint venture agreements. Shoot, I'm doing covered calls now as well as the strategy. I have multiple buckets. And I do have money with a financial advisor that he's trading. He's doing really well in the stock market. So I always say you have to have multiple. There's no one right answer. And, in our industry, anyone I've seen that's successful has multiple buckets. But really where I focus my time is, how do I create more passive income? How do I create more debit cards for myself? How do I create more legacy wealth from my end buyers? Who are those dentists, those doctors, those business owners, those family owners, those people with families that are worried about how do they pay for their kids' college education if the kids decide one day to go to college? If you could teach people how to put their kids in a house, like let's say this, one rental property will pay your kid's student loan off one day. One rental property.
True.
Right?
Yep.
Just teach people this, and you're solving a problem. But not only am I solving your problem, and what did I say? Help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want. I solve my problem because I now create more seller finance notes for myself.
And the key to this whole thing is because, and you hit the nail on the head, wholesalers, they're only out for themselves. If you take care of the people that you work with and help them out and not be so greedy, it's all going to come back to you. And It's just kind of, the more you put out, the more it comes back in. It's just, if you help people out, you're going to get it in return. And I'm sure you've done this many times. I mean, there'll be times where you didn't make any money, but you kind of coach and help somebody out in this situation, and they come back, and then you get referrals from it. It's the bottom line, and extremely knowledgeable on helping that out. So I like that.
Well, sure. I mean, look at what you're doing. You're doing a podcast here. You're doing your classes
Yeah.
on Monday. You're not getting paid for this stuff, right? It's just your give back. And like what I said, we didn't have this years ago. We didn't have this give back. I mean, when I was 17 and 18 years old, there was 3 events I went to. Colin Sheets, Russ Whitney, and Robert Allen. I still have Colin Sheets, tape. If anyone knows what a tape is, I still have his tape in his book. They didn't have this. So I think the problem is that this information it's too plentiful, but there's too many gurus out there. There's too many experts, right? And that's why we talked about events we speak at,
There's
right?
not real experts, though. You know what I mean? Like I had this gentleman on a podcast a couple days ago, and we're sitting there, and supposedly he's like a guru of doing sales clause. Nice guy, but the information he's giving out, I'm like, oh my God, I can't put this podcast out there. All the information I was giving, it was just incorrect. So I felt bad. I'm not telling him that, but I just felt bad because he can't put it. But another thing, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, this guy calls me up and he's like, oh, I work with a bunch of coaches, and we're doing this meetup in Puerto Rico. I'm like, oh, this is cool. I get to go network with higher level individual coaches. And he said it'd be like 13 to 15 people there. So I'm like, oh, this is cool, because like we always want to be in a room. For me, I always want to be the dumbest person in a room because I like learning. You know what I mean?
Right.
I like that thirst of knowledge. I'm like, okay, this is cool. So I go down, I go to meet with these people. Let me tell you, I was appalled, embarrassed. These coaches, and some of these, most of them were like Airbnb, have only done 2 deals. One person it was an NFL football player, he's just putting his name. I'm like, oh my God. I was the one giving more value than I was getting in return. And I actually was embarrassed. I'm like, I can't believe I got sucked into this, paying all this money to go to this thing. And it just turned out to be this. The only thing I got out of it is the people. He brought some speakers in that were pretty good. And I learned like different things about how to talk, and, talking on the camera, coming from the heart, an actor, if you will. So that, I mean, it did help, and hopefully I helped some of these other people, but I was just like, I can't believe these people are enrolling people, giving. I'm like, how many of you guys had a deal go bad or been in litigation and had to resolve the issue? And nobody has been through it. So, I always recommend go follow somebody that's been in the business for a minimum 15 years, because they've been through it, they understand, and people are still, like you said, everybody's a guru nowadays. What the definition of a guru is: a person that knows a little bit more than the other person.
Exactly. And that's fine. Listen, we've all started somewhere. I'm not going to knock anyone, but I take being on stage very, very serious, right? I feel like when I'm on stage, people are listening to me just because I'm on stage. Because they don't do their due diligence. And I always tell people, don't listen to everything I'm telling you. Trust me, but verify everything I'm telling you. I could be wrong. There's stuff I could be wrong about. Like laws change. I could be wrong. My ego's not that big. I'm very hubris out there right now. And I like to learn, like you, I like to be the dumbest in the room. Doesn't take me much to be the dumbest in the room, but I like to be the dumbest in the room. But and I'll tell you this, Mark, there's people in the industry, very short amount of time, they're putting events on right now. And then they're putting events on. And I'm like, you haven't been in this industry pre-2010 and you're putting events on. People are listening to you, right? So just because you're on stage, you have this authority, right? As an expert, whether you are or not,
Right.
people are listening to you. And you got to take that to a level of self-acclaim. You really have to understand that, you can destroy people's lives if you teach people the wrong way. And all these groups out there and all these. So I am very specific on where I speak, very specific. Like, 2 years ago, we did 40, I think 3 events, if I remember the number right. Last year, I did 19 events. This year, I'm doing sub 10 events. I turned down 6 in the last month that were asked me to come out and speak for them. Not because I'm great, not because any of that reason. It's just, one is I don't like to constantly be at the same event. There is a couple events I will be at every single year because the people there are great. I feel like I'm helping them. I feel like I'm giving back. I don't sell anything at these events. I don't take from these events. Those events cost me money to go to. They cost me time. Now I also do keynote speaking events where I'm paid to speak. I'm paid to go out and travel. I travel out there. I do it not only for the real estate world, not as much there, but corporate America as well. I teach sales training, mindset, your vision, your why, breaking through barriers. That's my favorite thing to do, right? Because I know I can touch their hearts immediately. To teach people how to actually do a deal, it's not my favorite thing to do because what happens, we go to these events year after year, we say the same thing, and the same people are sitting in the same row telling us they didn't do the deal for the same exact reason they didn't do it last year, right? So, then I go to these events and I see the sponsors are up as they're the speakers. So basically, they're paying to speak, so they bring no value. People are coming to that event to learn, and they're getting no value out of it. So we talked about a little bit about, we're not going to say the events we're not speaking at here, but I don't want to do that on publicly. But there's some events that you and I. It's funny because we're both not going, and we've been before. Not that it's bad; it's just to go back to the same event every single year when people aren't taking action. But with that being said, there are some great events, and what I love now is my favorite thing to do is it's a lot of work, and we'll probably do another one here in the next before the spring. By the spring, we'll do it, if not sooner. Is my inner circle event. We do, and we talked about this with coaching before. I love you are a coach by heart. I'm a coach by heart. We love doing it. It hurts us when we don't see success there, but we can't control what people do. So I created an inner circle workshop, and I did it before COVID, and then I did it after COVID. And to talk about how powerful that was, Mark, we had 15 right after COVID, the one we did, and we've done a couple since. We had 15 high-level entrepreneurs in that room. 15. With that, we had think about this, $18.2 million raised in that room. We had 66 deals done in the room, two multifamily deals, one partnership, one marketing rock star deal done in the room, and we've become family for life. They've come to my house, they've been on my boat, we go on cruises. They're going to the Puerto Rico cruise with me, 28 of them. So, and that's what I love to do. It's not about the amount of people. I love having tremendous relationships, and like I feel like you and I have. Like, so when we were in Nashville last year at DME, which is a phenomenal event, it's one of those I love to be at. That's when I would
Yeah.
probably be at every year as long as I can make it. Just because the people in the room, and Nathan's a phenomenal host, and he's just got a heart of gold, and he wants to give back. But those events like that, you and I got to build that relationship, just have a good time, right? And we talk business, but it's just relationship capital, going deep. And then you got to meet with my partner in Mississippi, Bob, right? And he
Oh
tells me,
yeah.
hey, Mark's doing Mississippi, and I'm like, see how it goes? It's just like this small world, and you didn't even know I was involved in it, right? So it's just your relationship capital. If you don't build that relationship with somebody, you don't want to really do business with them. You want to know that person. You want to know their core values. You want to know their culture. You want to know their ethics, their morals, what they stand for. That's better than any amount of money in the world. And that's why that's the good thing about events like that. But you got to go to better events. You got to be, like you said, be the dumbest person in that room. Get in rooms that you feel that you don't belong sometimes, and just give value. Give as much value as you can give, but take serious action. Take serious action. And like some of the events are a huge investment. Some of my events that I go to, it's invite only and it's free. I mean, I was at an event yesterday. We got taken to a five-star dinner by my buddy Joe, who I've done business with probably now for over 10 years. We've become friends. He's a high-level coach, charges a lot of money, and he doesn't hardly takes anybody on. You got to prove to him why he's going to take you on. And his network is so high end. I mean, I'm talking about like just up here, right? So we hit it off. We get to meet, and he did something great. He puts on. He says, instead of doing mastermind events, I'm doing mastermind dinners, but I'm not charging you a dollar. I'm paying for everything. I want you to come here, and I'm going to put people together, right? Because together, if you're good quality people, and he's got like 40, 50 people in his group, and he does dinners for like 8 to 10 at a time. And then next time he'll bring you with another 8 to 10 different people. And he goes, we're a circle. We want to, you got to kind of create your own circle and go deep with that. Instead of, some people are just a professional event goers. They just go to all these
Yeah.
events and they think they're busy.
Well, it goes back to what we always say. What's the old saying? Your network is your net worth type of situation. It really what it comes down to. People surround themselves with, I mean, think about it. I mean, physicians hang around physicians, cops hang out with cops, the whole entire situation. You just want to put yourself in that room and just the the more you're around good quality people that are doing good things and having success, it's just going to suck you right into it. And then also, I've seen you speak at many events, and let me tell you, you're probably one of the best speakers of controlling that room and getting everybody. You wake people up. I mean, we'll be sitting there and we just watched a couple of speakers, and everybody's falling asleep and trying to get coffee. And then all of a sudden, you come on the stage, and oh my God, it's like it's like what do they call those events? Like what do they call those high school events or the rallies before the football game type of thing?
Well, I do get electrically pumped at those events, and I love it. And yeah, I
You
appreciate
turn
it.
on. You turn on also. Like you're normal down here talking level all with all of us, and then all of a sudden you walk up on stage and you're like, oh, whoa. It's like walking into an AC/DC concert.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And I am electric when I do get electrified myself. It brings me a tremendous amount of value to do it because you're on stage a lot, right? And when you're on stage and you could look into somebody's eyes and you can see when they get it, they start sitting forward, their mouth, their gesture, their shoulders. You could see it in an event when you're speaking. And man, don't let me catch you. Once you make eye contact with me and I know I got you, I reel you in. It's like I reel you in like this, and I'm going to hit your heart and I'm going to pierce that heart. And that's why there's tears in the room when I speak, because I, I, everybody has a genius zone, right? And my genius zone is loving on people, but I was told by a very prominent, an A-level speaker, gets paid a lot of money. He heard me speak I got to speak at a corporate event, actually internationally last year in Bangkok. And he came up to me and he says, I just want to tell you something. He goes, I'm very impressed with you. And I was blown away because he's a speaker probably making over 200 grand every time he speaks for 40 minutes. And he says, what you do so powerful from that stage, and you might have heard this because you've gone to speak of things. He said, what you've done so powerful from that stage is you don't make people try to believe what you do is great. But there's no doubt in their mind that when they hear you, you believe 150% in what you do is great. And he goes, that's something that you can't be taught. That's not something a speaker, you can't go to a speaker class, you can't go to a training class and do that. And I was like, wow, I really appreciate you saying that to me because I didn't think I never thought that. He goes, but you speak from the heart. There's no BS about you. And he goes, he goes, I've been watching you at the event. He goes, you are who you say you are. And he goes, the other thing I watched, and he came out to me, this was at the VI, that last day, they had the big VIP dinner, and he goes, you actually spoke and then you stayed at that event. He goes, without anyone telling you, you stayed at the event. He goes, I watch speakers. He goes, most they're so egotistical. They show up, they speak, they leave, they won't talk to anybody. He goes, you sat at that event and I watched and you were talking to people. They were coming up asking you a ton of questions and you answered them. And he goes, I'm telling you, that's going to take you far. And what was
It's
really
awesome.
cool about that, it came from this guy, and I won't mention his name. It came from this guy, and he's somebody I emulate, I look up to, and I'm like, oh my God, to be a speaker like that's my dream. That's my vision board, is to be in a stadium, put 100,000 people in that stadium. But I don't want to be Tony Robbins because he's already done. But that's where better than me just teaching you how to do the business. If I can't fix your mindset, if you don't have the mindset, nothing hey, Mark, you're one of the smartest guys in seller financing I know. And I'll be honest, you blow my mind a lot with this. And I'm not just saying that. I hear the stuff you say, and I'm like, wow, my head's starting to hurt because it's so mind blowing. It is. It's mind blowing. It's like
I appreciate
but
it. Thank you.
if you don't, it's true. You are at a different level of seller financing, and that's why I love hearing you speak. But if you don't have that mindset, you're not going to take action. What does it matter what you tell me if you don't have if you don't have that mindset? And that's the first thing people need to fix before anything else. Before you go to a conference, you need to work on your mindset, right? You need to be okay failing. You need to know you're going to fail. If you haven't failed yet, like you said before, Mark, if you haven't been sued yet, get ready, you will be sued. It means you're not doing enough business. They used to say to me on a motorcycle, if you haven't fallen yet, you haven't been a motorcycle rider. So these are all the things that we talk about in the VIP rooms, right? In those VIP rooms. This is what we talk about. These are the conversations we have, and it's what gets us better. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it.
It's the same thing. I like going to Nathan's event. I do like that event. Everybody there is good quality people, and everybody's in a high level. And like you hit the nail on the head. It's like you want to be around people that are genuine and then themselves, not just trying to act like. And you can kind of see right through it. Like we've been around a while, so we can see who's talking out their ass, if you will, versus actually being genuine and kind of talking and giving the knowledge back of what they hit. And that's kind of the reason why I'm always out there, especially I started my Facebook group that's blown up, is because we're trying to educate people to make sure they're doing the things the right way. Mainly is because besides helping them is the regulations. You and I have seen regulations change over the years. When you get some bad apples, they end up screwing up the industry for all of us. And we're trying to constantly educate because people learn something from somebody that's totally incorrect, and just kind of be open-minded and learn from others that have been in the business and really learn from our failures. If we're not failing, we're not learning. That's the bottom line. If you're not failing, you're not learning. So
Well,
that's some good stuff. So before we go off, Dan, is there a question that I didn't ask that I probably should have asked?
to me, no, I mean, unless we go tremendously deep into how to do self-finance, which we're not doing here. You do that in your group. I mean, people should be in your group with that. And I'll even say that with the group. I don't post in a lot of people's groups because I don't align with what they're teaching. But I do throw some post in your group because I want to show people what's possible. And we do that without ever selling it. And that's the other thing, guys. If you're going to be in people's group, be a conduit, as my friend Tom Olson says. Be a conduit, which means give back. Don't be a taker. Just post like education in there. Don't say, hey, buy my stuff, go to my event. Don't do any of that stuff, right? So I know if I have something really good that I teach my group, I always post it in you're one of the groups. It allows me 3 groups. You're one of the groups I posted in because I want to give value to the people in there, right? And with nothing in return. I have no hope for anything in return. I have no look for anything in return. I don't want to ask for anything in return. I'm like, hey, this is really helpful in my group. It would probably be helpful in your group because we're teaching how to do some part of our business. And your group is phenomenal. I mean, it's just I go in there and it's one of my favorites. So I read everything going on. I see what's going on. If I could answer a question, I answer questions myself. If I
Appreciate it.
don't if I don't know the answer, I don't say anything, or maybe I'll tag somebody who I think might know. But you mentioned one thing, and it's always trusted verified because what you just mentioned, I'm glad you mentioned that. Like you're talking about regulations and all that stuff. Regulations change so fast. It's like AI changes so fast these days that even you and I might be a little off on regulations. Like I just learned something that they're bringing back. FinCEN is bringing back disclosure laws, right, for trust. And I asked that question because in my mastermind group, the guy who runs it, he mentioned it to me. He goes, "Oh my God," and it's not a big deal, right? I'm not a terrorist. It's not a big deal to me. I don't
Well,
really care.
the reason why they're doing it, why they're bringing it back, is
What's
because of
that?
China with all the farmland next to the military bases.
You see, so I just learned that just now. Thank you. I appreciate it.
That's the main
I
reason why
didn't
they're
know,
bringing it back.
and I didn't know the reason why. It didn't really. I don't really care.
I don't
Okay,
either.
so I'm a part of my trust, and I don't care. But people are going to make that their thing for why they're not doing business. I mean, like they just grapulate to the economy. They graduate to the politics, to the interest rates. I don't. Okay, so that happened, but. So to put that out there, right? So I put it in my group, put that out there. But that when you say in regulations, they change. So it's good to know the regulations. So if people talk to you about, hey, this is what's going on, a month ago, I wouldn't have said anything about this. Now it's like, okay, if you're going to do a trust, it's over 250,000. You're doing cash deal. You're a private lender. You're going to have to disclose. They're going to disclose you are. Now, how much is the title company's going to charge? So in groups like yours is where I always see this powerful information. And that's what a group to me, that's what a quality group is. And that's why your group, I don't know, it's 100 something thousand people, maybe. You got a
Yeah, about
ridiculous.
180,000 now.
Like that group, how much money you can make in that group just charging, and you don't charge anything. That's just their servant's heart right there, brother. That's really the servants, the abundance that
It's
you have.
and it costs me to run that group because
Oh,
I have to have 2 to 3 VAs constantly run it because we get bombarded with spam, fake lenders, crypto. So it's costing me probably about $1,800 a month just to kind of keep that group up and running. But
and that's
that's why
what
we're
that
doing it, to help people out.
and that's the abundant heart, and that's why we align so well, right? That's the main reason I think we align so well. Because I watch these other groups out there, and I'm not here to bash groups, but I'm here to level you, like to raise you up, and for people to understand. Then they probably know because they're listening to this now that you want to be, whether it's your group or other groups or events you go to or mentors you get around. These are the people you want to be around, right? And it's just a testimony that 180,000 people in your group, that group is worth well over $100,000 a month, well over $100,000 a month, not even close. It's probably close to $1 million a month that group is worth, and you're paying $1,800 a month. Like that's the difference. So I'm just going to implore whoever's listening here, get in that group, start reading stuff, start taking some action, start asking some serious questions. No question is a stupid question. It is monitored. I guess Mark's monitoring with his VA, so he'll knock off anything that's false. And if you have, that's how you learn, guys. Like nobody's going to beat you up because you know. They're just going to beat you up because you're doing things unethically or you're not doing anything. So yeah, so that's the only thing I said. You said is anything should be brought up. I think that's really important that people understand that regulations change so much. And the reason most regulations change is because somebody screws it up. So a lot of wholesalers are seeing regulations change is because they've been very unethical. And I'm not, when I say this, please don't beat me up. I'm not saying every wholesaler is unethical, but the majority of them have been unethical. These sub two guys, the majority of them have been unethical. That's why there's regulations changing. That's why the government, I'm not for government over regulation, but that's why government gets involved is because you're taking advantage of people. Otherwise, they wouldn't get involved, right?
And that's the main purpose is why you and I speak is to kind of help educate you guys so you guys learn the right thing. Because I know some of you guys are learning something that you think is the correct way, but it's not the correct way. So that's why we're always out there repeating. And thank you for about the group. So yes, come into the group, ask questions, and if you know the answer in your experience, come into the group and give your knowledge, help educate people. We really need it. It's about it's a small community, but a big community at the same time. We're all here to kind of help each other out to kind of grow. So, Dan, how can people reach out to you? How can they, if they want to know more about following you? I know you're looking for people that may want to be a passive investor or buy one of the properties, like, or even learn more about your inner circle type of situation. What's the best way of people kind of following you?
I mean, first thing I'll put up my book. I don't sell, but everything gets donated. Grab the book. It tells you my whole story in there, how I do my business, pass it to prosperous. That's one. Then
And
you
you did it before Chat GTP,
I did.
the old
It's
school.
I don't know. I tell you, 7 years and over $30,000 like this, like actually typing. And it's been a bestseller book right away, like a lot of, but it really has got me on a lot of stages and it's raised me a lot of money and done me a lot of business. But I kind of laid it out. It's a real easy read. A publishing company wanted to do it with me and they wanted me to write this book that was like almost 400 pages. And I said, no, I'm going to make it an easy read. And I kind of went at this myself and it took me a long time. It's a labor of love. They can get me on social media. Unfortunately, the friend request I can't do on my personal page because I hit that 5,000. But you can follow me there, Dan Zitofsky. You can go to my Instagram, Dan Zitofsky. I did have a podcast I haven't recorded in a couple of years. Same thing as my book, Pass of the Prosperous. We will be starting another podcast there soon, but it's going to be just not on real estate. It's going to be on mindset stuff. And you can go to my Facebook group as well, Become a Real Estate Investor with Dan Zitofsky. Not nearly as big as Mark's group, but I'll tell you this. If you message me with a real question, I will answer it. It's me. I don't have a virtual assistant for a reason. My social media is me. I answer. People don't know how I do it. I answer every single message I get if it's a real question because I once again, my genius zone, my core values, my competency is I love on people. I love to help. Um, just don't hit me up and say, "Hey, can I take you to coffee and pick your brain?" That nothing more drives me nuts than that comment. But hey, if I could help you in any way, truly move that needle for you, and you're going to take action, I'm happy to do it. You mentioned that inner circle group we do. It's only 15 people when we do it. We interview every person to come in. I'll tell you right now, it is an investment. It's 5 to 10 grand for 2.5 days, but it's a 5-star experience. Every dollar goes to the event. Anything on top of that gets donated. Right now, we pick a charity to donate it to. We've been a part of Make a Wish, Operation Underground, Be Positive Foundation for Kids Cancer, and now we're doing Chair to Love with Augie Bellot. We're giving wheelchairs to those in need. Our goal is 10,000 wheelchairs by December 2027. So that keeps me doing what I'm doing on the side, ancillary monies. My business money goes to us. All that ancillary money goes to a charity of choice because it's the abundance. It's what created happiness for me when I was going through. They call me the most depressed millionaire you'd ever meet because I didn't have that in my life. So yeah, you can follow me in those places. Every once in a while, I will start doing a training program again where I allow up to 50 people there. That's anyone could come in, but the Inner Circle event is probably my best event I do, and I'm on the speaking circuit like Mark. So follow. If you see me online and you see I'm speaking, I'm sure I'll be speaking at 1 or 2 events this year with Mark. It's definitely special. Not only we get great information, but if you're around us too, you'll have a ton of laughs and an experience that lasts a lifetime.
Dan, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on. We'll also put his some links and stuff under the show notes below. So thank you guys for listening. Dan, thank you so much for coming on. I truly appreciate it.
Have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.